wonders who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Well, hello and welcome and thanks for joining us. We are counting down the top 10 things that made us go
wow.
And I'm Fender Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined with Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer.
Something like that. Hey, Fender. It's nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you. And James St. James, whom I'm afraid needs no introduction.
Wow.
And Blake, of course.
Hi. Yes.
So, some people call this a podcast. It drives me insane.
It's not a podcast. We are on the radio.
I know.
I say I do not spend 10 minutes every week preparing for a podcast. This is for broadcast, darling.
But I tell you, next week I know one of the items is going to be a podcast item but there's a podcast boom going on. You know, podcasts are on the rise.
If you remember, we were doing podcasts 10 years ago at the World of Wonder.
We were.
And nobody listened and nobody cared, and so we stopped.
And boy, have we come a long way.
So we stopped, and now everyone's doing podcasts, and they're the hot new thing, and we're doing a radio show.
We're doing a serious radio show.
A very serious radio show.
But our number on podcast will be the following week, because remember, next week we're doing a special tribute to Queen.
That's absolutely right. We're doing a special. We're doing 3 queens on Queen.
Yes.
Because the big movie's coming out.
Yes.
Anyway, enough about next week. We're here right now. We're coming to you from the heart of Hollywood in our street side studio, World of Wonder headquarters, just in front of RuPaul's star on Hollywood Boulevard. Oh, look, there's some sequins on it today. And I've just got to tell you, you can come visit us at 6650 Hollywood Boulevard. You can now come to the World of Wonder store. You can walk in and you can have an experience. You could buy a...
That's so weird that you said that. That's very psychic, because there used to be a supermarket near us called Glenn's, and the tagline was, come to Glenn's and have an experience.
Well, come to the WoW store and have an experience. Experience is the new word, too. It's all about podcasts, and it's about experiences. We're not selling things. We're selling experiences.
But we're also selling things. We're selling drag race merchandise.
Oh, yes.
From
Like
DragCon,
water
Drag
bottles,
Race.
Sasha Velour sleighing cards, Bob the Drag Queen wash bags.
James St. James Freak Show.
Absolutely. T-shirts, things of that nature.
Wow.
Okay, let's get back to the show.
Get back to it. We really haven't started.
We're done. We got to take a quick break. No. Counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. Tom, number 10.
Number 10.
I want you to listen as I tell you about GLSEN. I went to the GLSEN, GLSEN Respect Awards. It is an amazing program.
They're an amazing group.
Amazing group that supports, has outposts in all the different schools. Their goal is to be in every school, anti-bullying, LGBTQ plus awareness. It was star-studded. I can go, I give to my charities. I'm not a guy that is a joiner of groups. So sometimes these big charity events sometimes make you feel a little icky. This one did not make me feel icky. They bring out students who are part of the GLSEN program around the country. And, again, for a minute, this bugged me, and then I got over it because they were like, hi, my name's Tom, and I go by the pronouns him and he. Like, they were very careful to stop and do that. And I think, I hear things from my New Hampshire background, my red state ears, and I'm thinking like, oh, that's going to alienate people. People go by they and their, they go by she. And then I thought like, no, it's okay to take a moment, because people don't take a moment and they're just expressing themselves. And then someone like Jeffrey Katzenberg, who's a huge Hollywood executive, he's also an ally of the thing, and he was there with his wife Marilyn, and he was like, and everyone, hi, my name's Jeffrey Katzenberg, and I go by the pronouns he and him. It was like really cute. It was like this total like equally
made to follow the modern way.
Yes.
Like Hollywood icon.
And it was a dreamy night. Feted and awarded were Dave Cohen and Max Muchnick, creators of Will and Grace, both friends of mine. Ellen Pompeo, whose table we were sitting at.
Are they Harvard friends of yours?
No, they aren't. They went to Emerson.
Gin and tonics, darling.
Yes, darling. Ellen Pompeo, we've been working with lately on something that's sort of under. And we sat at Ellen's table. She was so gracious to invite Randy and I. And I think you were invited too. And I came a little bit early, and I sat down at the table 19, close to the front, and sitting at the Ellen Pompeo table was Shonda Rhimes.
What?
Shonda Rhimes.
I would
One of your personal idols.
One of my personal idols. She was really sweet and really warmed up. When I first got there, I didn't know what to say. And so I decided to fan out. And I said, I just want you to know that Scandal is one of my favorite shows ever. And I watched it breathlessly. And before I finished that sentence, she was talking to someone behind
Your
her.
eyes are glazed over.
May I live to the day when I get tired of someone fanning out. It just happens.
And in her defense, people are so social at these things, and everyone came by to talk to Shonda. And she was gracious and gave a lot of her time to everyone, and we bonded over the evening. Also,
Wait, you now consider her a close personal friend?
I do. She was great. And Greg Berlanti.
Oh, I love me some Greg Berlanti. Love Simon, Arrow,
Yes.
Flash, Supergirl.
He presented the award to 20th Century Fox, which got the third award.
He's also lovers of Robbie Rogers.
Yes, and they donated to GLSEN that evening $1 million.
God bless
Was it just like on the spur of the moment? Was it a spontaneous
No, I
thing,
believe
or
he's on the
was it-
board, and he decided to do that.
Very
but that's still
handsome gentleman. Very handsome.
very handsome.
Yeah.
Love Simon, does all the CW shows usually. And Max and David did the funniest speech. Ellen did the speech that made me cry the most, but David and Max did a hilarious, like, it was like seeing Rowan and Martin, or, you know, they were so rehearsed and so fabulous. And at one point, Max Muchnick, Will and Grace Carter, said, Greg, we admire you, not simply because you're younger, richer, and have more shows on the air. That fact is actually annoying to us. He goes, but one of us, you're one of the best creatures on the planet in every way, and it's true. Shonda Rhimes introduced Ellen. Shonda's speech said, she said that the times feel really messed up. The times feel dark. The times feel twisty. And this is not a television show I'd make up, because her shows are so dark and twisty. And she's even been out dark and twisties. Ellen spoke from the bottom of her heart. She called out what seemed like 100, but I think it was 15 names of trans and LGBT people who had been murdered and killed, and just how important this still is. Because you want to think we're in the bubble, everything's okay. It's not. This goes into the grassroots, into the heartland of America.
In fact, as we've learned in the past couple of weeks, that things are getting harder and harder for LGBTQ students.
Yes.
Well-
and I was on this high from this thing, and the one thing that Ellen said, and I hope I can convey it right. She just said, these vulnerable students and people need us so badly, and we need them so badly. And it was just it just rushed over me, because it's not just like, oh, we're helping poor sad people. It's like, we need people who think outside the box, people who have a different point of view, people who experience the world differently. That's what makes beauty
Fresh
and art
perspectives,
and
yeah.
God and anyway.
And they are, the children are the future.
And there's Howard Schultz, the head of Starbucks, introduced Max and David. I feel like I'm running out of time. And then the whole evening ended. Also, Nick Robinson from Love Simon, and the Baby Driver.
What a boy!
He
What
was
a
there.
star.
It's A-list. The cast of Will and Grace was there. They look amazing in person as much as they do on television. Deborah Messing, hairdo, fabulous. And they ended with, just when you thought you couldn't get any better, MJ Rodriguez from Pose, Billy Porter, and Our Lady J, friend of ours, come out. Our Lady J says the piano, and they talk about, this whole thing's about safety and feeling safe and having a place to be home. When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love. They sang the most beautiful version of Home you've ever heard, which is available like on iTunes. So you need to get it, which is MJ Rodriguez, Billy Porter, Our Lady J. I left on Friday night so happy. I kept saying to people, this is a great night to be liberal. This is just like unapologetic. We are in the bubble and it feels good. And then I went away to Palm Springs, and I woke up Sunday morning to the headline in the New York Times that Trump is trying to, sort of define away transgender people. We're not going to get into that, but I'm just, thank you, GLSEN. Thank you, Ellen, for your work and for inviting us. And Norman Lear it was a beautiful night, and just sharing that with you guys.
I feel it was a great account, because I feel like I missed it, and but I didn't miss it. I thought I was there.
Yeah. I lived every moment of it.
You're thinking my retelling might have been longer than the actual event, but
You know what always sticks in my brain? It's GLSEN, but it's GLSEN. I don't know why that's so sticky in my mind. It like sticks. So it's glisten.org, GLSEN.org, and I don't know. It's such a clever idea.
I
GLSEN.
volunteered money, so you couldn't be there and not give
Came
money.
out penniless.
Yeah, so you can go online and help.
James Darling, number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9. What did I do this weekend? I went to go see Halloween, of course.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty good, right? It's like a
No.
what?
This is the show where the truth is told. Everyone has to love Halloween right now, and yet James St.
They
James
oversold it. They overhyped it. It was getting amazing reviews. People were saying that it was not only was it a great horror film, but it was a great film.
Right.
And
isn't this the universal law of movies? It's always a problem.
It is.
Overselling too much.
Yep.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
Star is
I
Born.
don't think there's not a lot of horror film out this. There's not a lot of horror films out this year. Suspiria is coming out in a couple days, but it's really sort of the only thing happening right now. It takes up where the first one left off.
right, like the sequels never happened. Never happened.
There have actually been 3 Halloweens, 3 reboots of it, and then there have been 3 Halloween 2s. This is not.
So is this like the Bible where you have these illegitimate books that they don't count?
Yes.
Well,
Like
it's
just
more like a
ignoring-
Greek tragedy where we keep telling the same story over and over again with different things.
Or the movie Spider-Man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or A Star is Born.
Exactly. Yes. So this is anyway. This is 40 years later. It's Laurie Strode is back. Jamie Lee Curtis. Her daughter now is Judy Greer, who we love.
Great actress.
Judy Greer can do no wrong. Michael Myers. And I'm not giving away any spoilers. There was somebody who worked on this podcast who came up to me the other day.
It's not a podcast. It's a radio show.
There was somebody who came up on the. There's somebody who edits this radio show who came up to me the other day and said that they were upset with me. They were working on the show and they were mad because I gave away too many spoilers. And that's all I ever seem to do
you're not
is
gonna-
give away plot points of movies.
So we're not gonna-
I'm not allowed to do it anymore. So, but I do want to say,
I want to know all about it.
well,
What if we call this, instead of the Wow Report, the Spoiler Report?
There
with
we go.
James St. James.
Michael Myers escapes. No spoiler alert there. He's on another rampage. No spoiler there. He doesn't act like Michael Myers. He acts a little more like Jason in this. He toys with his victims instead of just Michael's brute force, which was sort of like Michael was just an unknowable, unstoppable force of evil. In this, we get too much backstory. We know too much about it. There's an attempt at humor. They try and be funny, and it doesn't.
Is
always
he funny, or they're making fun of him?
Just some of the characters.
I hate how they have to always make horror movies funny now too. You know,
Exactly.
like
yes,
since Scream.
Since Scream, exactly. Yes.
It's the Kevin Williams signization.
And this isn't a spoiler, but there's only one scary moment in it, and they give it away in the commercial and the trailer. And pow!
Do people still die after having sex, basically? Does that still happen? Because that's all I remember about the first one was people having sex and being killed.
With it, that was a big horror trope in the
Yeah.
70s and 80s, was that if you have sex, you're going to die. And there's always the virgin girl who lives is one of the big tropes.
Yeah.
And the virgin girl does live in this, but there's not much sex going on because it's 2018 and nobody.
Spoiler.
No. I mean, there's no spoiler that we're puritanical nation now and nobody can have sex.
Well, okay, I'm going to cut you off. Halloween is in theaters now.
And did really well, and good for Jamie Lee Curtis. I feel good for her success as a woman of a certain age.
I mean, you were done with your Halloween, right?
I guess I was.
We're a live
I was
show.
getting the wrap-up thing.
I know.
James, $1.6 billion could be yours.
Are we moving on?
Yeah, number 8.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Number
Talk to me,
8.
Fenton. Look at me. Don't try to bring James back into this conversation. He's gone.
This is our pattern. I always have to-
certainly is.
We can just do a
And we're
two-shot.
gonna have a long meeting about this pattern afterwards, okay?
I can't make it.
No, I know you weren't invited because it's about you taking up 40 minutes every fucking first segment.
So, darling, that's why we edit. We overtape and then we edit.
No, what I've learned is we don't edit. When you edit out James. Is what
No,
I've learned
not
from
possible.
this woman.
Not
It's
possible.
it is possible.
This
She
woman.
told me. She said she takes out the spoilers every time I give a spoiler. She doesn't put it in.
Number 8.
Well, okay, this is an item at number 8 that cannot be spoiled because, well, we already know who won the biggest lottery ever, but because we're almost live, we don't actually at this moment ourselves know. You see.
Does this train have a caboose, Fenton?
I don't- whatever that means. Should it have one? What is
Does
it?
your story have a point? Is what I'm getting at.
I love it. I just love it when you get mad. It's so hot. 1.6 billion is the biggest lottery ever. Here we are. What does it say about our society, James?
I don't know.
I know, Tom.
Did you buy a ticket?
I asked everybody to please donate to help me get a ticket. I don't have money for a ticket.
Because we're all, I think most of the offices in the pool.
Don't play that. No, don't play that. I don't have money for a ticket card. On top of, I'm just teasing. I didn't buy one, and so when you're all rich,
Oh, you didn't come into the office pool?
I didn't do it.
See, I think the problem with these office pools is, supposing we won the 21 billion, I think there'll be some lawsuits afterwards saying, "Oh, you promised to get me a ticket," or "Oh, I thought I was in it and I wasn't." And
well, I go on record saying you promised to get me a ticket. Whoever got the tickets,
All right.
I didn't do it. I don't care if I win the lottery. I think it is
Do you
some
think it's a
kind
bad
of
thing?
wish fulfillment. I think it's opiate for the masses. I guess it's fun that people take a little break, but it's kind of like
Create your own wealth. Create your own lottery. Make your life your own lottery.
I just feel like it's like the Republican tax break where everyone thinks is lulled into believing it's good for them, but they're actually trillions of dollars in debt. And this thing is like, what if it happens? And it's like, I don't know.
Well, you know, they did a study of 3,362 winners of lotteries
and
from
they
5.
all spent it, and they're all miserable.
Well, right.
Well,
yes,
we're miserable
I mean,
already, so why not be rich and miserable?
They found that large price. No, actually, they found that they felt that more people go bankrupt than win the lottery than don't. I suppose in a way that's quite an obvious.
If you
fact,
go
right?
bankrupt,
Yeah, because they get money
if you
like
win
all
the
of a
lottery, you're much more likely to go bankrupt than any
yeah, sure, of
ordinary
course.
citizen. But this
Well,
recent,
it's the problem with the nouveau riche in general.
but the recent,
looking down your nose at the nouveau.
New money is always just problematic.
That's why I've never earned a lot.
do you know, James, this might be interesting to you, but the lottery is not, in fact, a new thing. Do you know
It's been biblical.
King James
Yes.
in 1612 created the first lottery, and it was to raise money for the first British settlement in America, Jamestown. Did you know that?
James St. Jamestown.
Jamestown. And
But I do feel like it goes back to biblical times.
oh, it does, yeah. But just in American history, like lotteries, I thought lotteries were sort of a modern nightmare, of the sort of casino society. Oh, and interestingly, yeah.
I just wonder when the Air Force ball system was invented. The Voop 8. Voop 9. I wonder if that goes back as far
That feels
the Bible
doesn't
as
that feel
well.
like a sort of 50s thing. Maybe.
Yeah.
It just feels very 50s where
I
balls.
wonder how they did it before.
Probably stones.
Well, that's Shirley Jackson's The Lottery.
Okay, we got to take
About
a quick break.
stoning the girl, remember?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you there was a town lottery, and then you it's the whole book. It's a short story, and everyone's excited for the lottery, and you go to the lottery, and everyone you pull out the name, and then you pull it out, and the very end the girl is like no, and then they stone her, and every year you stone the person who wins the lottery.
Believe
That
I
is a horror
laughed.
film, isn't it?
Well, it's Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. It's a very famous short story.
And
Have
there
they
was
remade
a
it?
Marilyn Manson video based on it.
I believe Jamie Lee Curtis is in development on it right now.
All right, we have to take a quick break. You've got the question, Blake.
Yes, I do. 5 states don't have a state lottery. How many can you name?
Okay.
You're listening to Wow Report on Radio Andy. We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
All right, welcome back to the Wow Report. We're counting down the top 10 things that made us go,
Wow.
I'm here with James St. James.
Yes, you are.
And Tom Campbell and Blake.
Hey, James.
So, I hope anyone listening won the lottery. It was the biggest lottery in history. And before the break, we asked you the question, there are 5 states that don't, in fact, have a lottery. This is surprising. Can you name any of them?
Well, I would say that one is probably Arizona because they don't celebrate Martin Luther King Day, and they don't seem like joiners to me.
I like that. Is that what's wrong?
No, okay.
All right. I'm going to just guess that it's Alaska and Hawaii.
Ding, ding.
Oh.
And states, not Puerto Rico's not really a state. Then I'm going to say Montana.
Massachusetts.
They have one. Wyoming. Okay. What are they?
Utah, for religious reasons. Hawaii.
You already
And
said.
this one is really, one state in America that you think would.
Nevada.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Because
interesting.
They don't want you spending your money on tickets. You
That's
should put
right.
in
Right.
slot machines.
That's right.
That's
And
fascinating.
Alabama.
Oh, right. Alabama,
Alabama.
too.
Number 7.
Number 7.
I waited a week to talk about this, so I hope there's no spoilers. But has anyone here watched the Roseanne reboot of The Conners?
I have.
Great, Blake has. You didn't get a chance. You
I
didn't get a
won't.
chance.
I won't be a part of it.
I have a lot of not mixed feelings at all. I loved it.
I liked it.
I was reading someone online who used to be a writer, and he kind of criticized the structure of it. It's like they had a lot to do, and do you know how spoiler alert? Do you know how Roseanne passes away?
Was it opioids?
They hinted that she had an opioid addiction at the end of the season because she had knee problems, and she OD'd.
Yeah.
And they found in her bedroom the pills that were not hers, they were somebody else's. So Dan goes out and finds that woman and shames her, and she's played by
Mary Steenburgen.
Mary Steenburgen, who shows up as this sort of, you could kind of believe drug-addled woman on the porch, and she says, Rose, this is how we don't have the money or insurance for our pills, and Roseanne told me she needed pain pills, and I had some left over, I gave up. And she goes this whole thing about how people, blood pressure medicine for this guy comes from this woman, how there's this black market, but out of neighborly love for each other. And then, which really I thought was really brave, is they found more stashed away with other people's names on it, which confirmed that this woman didn't set up
Wasn't
Roseanne
only
to die.
her.
It was that Roseanne was an addict, and she was hoarding them and doing them.
Well, that's real sad.
Yeah,
It is
where's
sad.
the comedy?
Well, one of the funniest parts of the episode was when one of the the oldest daughter, Becky, says, "Oh, and that's the one thing I wanted of mom."
Yeah,
When they found the
They figure,
pills.
we're gonna flush these out. It's like, oh, I'm one of those.
Well, no, wait, but tell me what's going on with John Goodman. Did he have some lap band surgery or something? He looks awfully skinny. And
He does look thinner than usual.
He looks sort of
I think
sickly.
he was thinner last year too.
Was he?
It's my great fear that when I lose the weight,
That you're going to look like
I'm
Al
gonna
Roker.
I'm going to be skinny. Yeah, I'm
It's
gonna
still,
have
you're going to be
saggy.
weird skinny.
But here's the other storyline that touched me a lot, and they dealt with it really well, as they do. Darlene's son, Mark, is gender non-binary, and he comes...
So do we even call him a son?
I don't know.
Darlene's child is gender non-binary.
I'm here to learn. And Mark goes, there's a boy he has a crush on, and he goes to Dan, and Dan goes, this is the kind of stuff you usually talk to Roseanne about, but Dan, in the course of the episode, is invested, does listen to him the way that you'd like to think that any parent or grandparent would show love and compassion for their child. And that's where the show feels very, as it always sort of did, progressive and liberal. And I have to say, and this is the controversial part is thrown in its end, is like, I feel bad for Roseanne Barr in a way, because they knew what they were getting themselves into when they hired her. She's an unstable woman, and it must be very hard for her, and she did some tweeting and stuff, to watch this go on. And they play the whole card like, well, this is good for the crew. The crew gets to be working. Yeah, and ABC gets to make millions and millions and billions
And
of dollars.
isn't she an executive producer or something?
no,
They
she gave
bought her
up.
out, presumably.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
But they did buy her out, so...
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. It's like, it sounds like not funny. I mean, it
Well, that show was always able to deal with really profound middle class blue collar problems.
Did you not just notice a headless person walked past?
It was like Ornacia, but without a head.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
But they find that balance, and I think she had a heart attack. They would have been a cop out. They did something that was profound, and it speaks to who they are and where they live. And I'm very interested to see where it
And
goes from here.
an important epidemic in the Midwest.
Hallelujah.
Right.
I don't need to be a part of this.
Good.
Number 6.
James, darling. Number 6.
This is something that I can't believe hasn't already happened. I just read about it about 20 minutes ago before the podcast started, and I switched everything up. I changed my order of everything. There's a restaurant in Milan called This Is Not a Sushi Bar that you can pay in Instagram followers. And the more Instagram followers, the more food you get. For instance, if you have between 1,000, if you have 1,000 Instagram followers, you get
A free sushi plate.
Yeah, hold on a second. Patrons who have between 1 and 5,000 followers get a free sushi plate. If between 5,000 and 10,000 followers, you get 2 free plates. If you have 50,000 to 100,000 followers, you get 8 dishes, and people with 100,000 followers or more get a free lunch or dinner.
Wow. So what are you going to be eating?
Well, I get the free dinner, of course. I'm over 100,000.
Tom and I are going to say a sushi plate.
plate.
And a lot of people do this, but apparently these are the people who just advertise it. But if you go into a lot of restaurants now and you have 100,000 followers or more, you will get, as long as you post about it, you can get free meals.
What does that mean?
Well, it's that
advertising.
Black Mirror episode where the more followers you have and the more likes you get and everything like that. That's what.
It's not the
like
gig
your
economy.
rating.
It's the like economy.
Exactly. I thought it was fascinating, and I have a feeling we're going to be seeing more and more.
Well, how
of
many
this.
times can you go into the restaurant? Like, can you go in as many times
Oh,
as you
that's a
want?
good point.
Well, I don't know, but you have to you have to post about it first, and then show them the followers before you get the free meal.
Blake's just like, hold. How is this an all you can
Can
eat
I go?
buffet?
Can I go 3 times
Like,
a day?
what's going on? I'm hungry.
Can I leave and come back for another plate with my 1,000 followers?
How much can I get to go? It is kind of interesting. I was just marketing. A friend of mine's in marketing, and she talked about 3 tiers of influencers, and there's the huge million followers, and then
The
there's
cash
the
cows, I
100,000,
think, is
and the
one of
26,
them.
and that's it's all about focused marketing, right? It's like if you
Well,
wear striped shirts, I'm going to go to Fenton Bailey and have him post about it.
It's interesting though that there are people who are called social influencers who they say Instagram star and they have like 30,000 followers. And I think, why am I not an Instagram star? Why am I not getting? Why are people not throwing free outfits at me and to do that? I don't understand why. I think it's because I'm old.
Our listeners might be interested to know about Luca, our show about Luca, and I forget what it's
Lucas
called.
Sabat?
Lucas
Sabat,
Sabat, who's in Grownish.
Yeah.
It's
Mess, Lucas Sabat.
debuting. Yeah, Hot Mess, Lucas Sabat. It's debuting on Freeform.
Yes.
And on the Facebook page
Yes.
next week.
And the
So
digital platforms.
did you just chop me off there again?
I did not, darling.
I think we're done.
I
Go
just
again.
added a little emphasis.
Okay. Well, Lucas Bont. Everyone. No, he is a cutie.
He is a cutie, and he is a star who has emerged from having a social media
Mm-hmm.
following.
Now, what is it? How many followers does he have?
I'm looking right now.
It's a lot.
Instagram.
He's less about his followers. Luca is the kind of, he hates the word influencer, but it's the kind of, he like influences the influencers. He's like super cool. Although I
Right.
think his, nothing works when I want it to work.
Isn't he also dating Kourtney Kardashian?
He is. That is right.
I know.
That's what when you have no, but he is completely emerged. I mean, he's been a model, he's an influencer, but he is someone who has emerged not purely by dint of social media, but it has been the sort of
But the thing is, the thing I'm questioning here is I just read an article. New York Magazine, Vulture just did a huge article about this boy, and he's a huge social media. He's front row at A-list fashion shows every year, and he only has 30,000 Instagram followers. And I just keep thinking, like, how is that? Why is he a star?
Like, who decides who is an Instagram
because
star?
they're micro targeting. That's the thing. They know like so and so with 26,000 is going to get people to buy underwear. They like it's all this kind of like gritty into the cracks. It's not just like a billboard or a commercial. It's like.
But I just don't understand why why the 26,000
versus you.
my 100,000. Why my
It might be a
my
bit
100,000 people aren't
I think maybe-
buying the things that I tell them to buy?
Okay,
Maybe he has like a
Luca-
publicist.
Your day will come.
Lucas Sabat has 1.4 million followers.
Yeah. Okay.
Not
Well,
doing
there
so
you go.
bad.
Number 5.
Number 5. Watergate.
Did that just happen?
Topical as always.
1972.
The subtitle of this 4-hour film is How We Learned to Stop an Out-of-Control President. So some people may say it's timely. It's the film is actually out right now in limited theaters, but it's also coming up on the History Channel Friday, November 2nd, for 3 nights. It's written and directed by Charles Ferguson, who won the Oscar for the best documentary, Inside Job, which was about the economic meltdown. Now, the thing about Charles Ferguson, I met him. I sat on a jury with him at the Sundance Film Festival. He is one of those people who is unbelievably intelligent. And you sit in front of them and you can see the fire behind the eyes. And you know that he is looking at you, seeing your cogs move ever so slowly. And he's just, you get the
Judging
sense
you?
he's about to explode. No, he's just so brilliant and moves at such a pace that everyone else is like moving in slow motion. And you just sense this pent-up
bubbling
energy.
cauldron.
Yes, no, you really do.
And is that the feeling you get watching his documentaries?
Well, in a way, it is, because I have to say, I mean, I thought that it was a perfect timing to make a film about the economic meltdown when he made it and won the Oscar for all those reasons, and it was very good. But also, I find his films, you need a sort of PhD level of knowledge, I think, to even enter them. And the thing I found out about this Watergate thing
That
is
doesn't sound very accessible.
It's an extraordinarily dense and relentless 4 hours. I mean, it's everything. It's like in some sci-fi movies, little embryos get super educated and they see everything going very, very fast in front of them. And it's a bit like that. I had no idea who was who, what was going on. I mean, also, I only had a passing knowledge of Watergate. I didn't really know the players. And this is very, I mean, there's no question it's a sort of encyclopedic, definitive work. But I guess a little like Ulysses, it's a little dense. You know, James Joyce's Ulysses.
I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter review.
Yeah.
And it says, offers a dense, detailed look. Dense is the word.
And the other thing is just a personal thing, is I think there is in these moments, if we're in one now, there is in these moments a kind of grotesque comedy. And that if you lose the humor, if you can't see the humor in it, the sheer craziness in it, I feel it certainly it's a hard experience to relive it. It's just sort of somewhat dire. And I mean, there's absurdity and craziness in all these weird historical
Well, that's
moments.
like, existentialism and absurdist comedies came after World War II. I mean, it's that whole feeling of after the Holocaust, there is no poetry, and I guess there is no humor after certain things happen.
Well, I think humor takes on a different dimension. I think it becomes a sort of weaponized, annihilating sort of force. And I feel that this film misses that. Anyway, it's all about Watergate. One of the most fascinating things for me was, I think it gets really good around hour 2 when they...
Around the 5th hour, it really picks up.
You are a much... braver man than I.
When they hit the Watergate hearings.
But I just
on the Watergate hearings, so there's
Those
sort of
were
epic
huge.
televisual reality TV moment.
But I just sort of call that endurance art, where it's sort of like Warhol's like 23 hours of the Empire State Building.
Like, you got to eat everything on your plate. If you start a book, you got to finish it. That's the way.
Very good.
John Dean, who was seen as the big villain of the piece, I thought. The White House counsel. Yeah. He is kind of a really interesting, layered, complicated guy.
He's on CNN a lot
and
now.
he's in this.
Yeah.
And he, at the start of the Watergate hearings, or when he appeared at least, he read, I believe it was a 246-page report, which took them 6 hours to listen to. But it's a pretty epic undertaking. Although I will just say, while talking about Watergate, if you're interested in Watergate, you've got to listen to the Slow Burn Slate podcast by Leon Neyfakh. We've talked about it on the show before, but I thought that was a much more accessible
this
take
doesn't
on
sound very
Watergate.
accessible to
How
me.
many hours is that? Do you know?
I think that is like 8 hours.
See, I
but
wonder
he picks
sometimes-
little individual stories. There's this great story about Martha Mitchell, the wife of Nixon's
Martha
first
Mitchell.
attorney
I love
general.
Martha
How
Mitchell.
can Watergate not be funny with you have Martha Mitchell as a character?
They
Yeah.
seized her. She knew too much.
Yeah.
She was a gossip. They seized her. They forcibly tranquilized her and held her
Drink
hostage
and call people at night.
in
I
a
love me
California
some Martha
hotel.
Mitchell.
Drink
Uh-huh.
and dial. I mean, that's such a great story. But anyway, Watergate, this amazing tour de force, this epic piece, is in select theaters now and also on the History Channel. Friday, November 2nd. Hey, we have to take a quick break. What's the question, Blake?
What show did President Nixon, or former President Nixon, reportedly say got him elected president?
Wow, this is the easiest one we've ever had.
Yeah, listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Wow Report. I'm here with Tom and James and Blake. And as usual, we're counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow. We were just talking about Watergate. There's a definitive 4-hour documentary on the History Channel.
I hear it's very dense.
Very dense. Made by the amazingly talented Charles Ferguson. Blake, there was a question. I already forgot what it was.
What show did Nixon reportedly say got him elected president?
Oh,
do know
yes,
this
of
now.
course.
He was-
Sock it to me.
Laughing.
Oh,
That's right.
Why?
Because he showed up and he did, sock it to me.
It was
And
it
people
was-
people had always been making fun of what a dour TV presence he was after the
Yes.
the debates with John
Right.
F. Kennedy, and so this really sort of rebooted his image.
It's the way that people went on to Saturday Night Live at one point and used to.
Yeah.
Was that the beginning of this trend?
A little
of,
bit, yes.
Yeah,
And then
because
Bill
people-
Clinton
people-
playing the saxophone on Arsenio.
People thought that he loosened up a little bit, and it got him the youth vote.
But wasn't Brother Martin's often quite pointedly political? No?
What, laughing,
Or
yes,
was that
of
the
course it
Smothers
was.
Brothers? Oh, right.
Yeah.
So
Smothers
they-
Brothers was really political. Laughing in hindsight was kind of just vaudeville with mini skirts.
but miniskirts were political at that time.
That's true.
You know, I mean, like the fact that Goldie
Yes.
Hawn was in a bikini and had
Painted and
political
stuff.
slogans written on her.
I'll buy that.
Number 4.
James, darling.
Me?
What have you got for us at number 4?
It's book hour. We're having a little book podcast right now. We're gonna do a couple books right here. The first one that I want to talk about is Guru. I got my copy.
Hold it up. Nice.
It came out this week. RuPaul's self-help book here. It's sort of a guide to life. I haven't read it yet. Tom, do you know a little bit more about it than I do?
The only copy I saw was on set, and it was just the outside of the book and blank pages. So I know very little. I do know that Theron was working really hard with Ru to find the most amazing
Pictures,
photographs, many by
some
Matthew
really
Anderson.
gorgeous pictures. It is sort of a guide to life. I know there's a lot of advice there. I know that Jane Fonda wrote the foreword. One of his good friends, Jane Fonda. Anyway, it's available on Amazon. I want to get to my next book right here.
Okay.
I got this one in the mail today, and I am so excited. Carolyne Roehm's Design and Style.
A constant thread.
A constant thread. Carolyne Roehm, of course,
Married
darling.
to
Henry Kravis,
right?
yes,
The
junk bond salesman,
the hostile junk bond takeover king from the 80s.
Carolyne Roehm was a great social cyclone in the
she
in the
passed
19.
on?
No.
Okay,
not-
she's still alive.
This is a different one, yeah.
Okay.
Carolyne Roehm was a social cyclone in the 1980s. She was one of the Nouvelle Society women, along with Ivana Trump and Gayfried Steinberg,
Yes.
and a lot of the women who were in their 30s. They took over. They were new money, and they took over.
Steinberg.
Steinberg.
Yes.
They took over
Gloria
society.
Turner, Texas.
the
Yeah,
Nouveau
Gloria-
Riche.
What?
The Nouveau Riche.
Well,
Yes.
they were Nouveau Riche, but they stormed the castles of the old money in the 1980s, and they were absolutely fabulous. They brought a new energy and a new vitality. This is in the Reagan era when everybody was rich, and suddenly everybody was
Sweetie.
Sweetie, big hair, big shoulder pads, and she was a designer, and she designed for all of them. Now, she went away and reinvented herself, and now she's a celebrity florist and an interior designer. And this book, it is just. This book is absolutely stunning. It's her old designs pictured with flowers.
Oh, well, can I just say, peonies, right?
Yeah, a
They were
peony.
the flower of the 80s.
They
weren't
really
they?
were,
It
yeah.
was- and there was a description of a wedding, someone's wedding. It might have been hers, where they flew in millions of peonies, and they had to be forced to blossom by a hairdryer to make them warm up.
I just want to
and-
show you
and
like
open
this
up.
page right here. This is one of her in one of her dresses, and a flower right here. And
Yeah.
it says, "When I see and touch the delicacy of an iris petal, I hear the rustle of silk taffeta. In design, in life, everything sparks a connection." And that's basically what the book is. It is just pictures of her in her gowns next to pictures of flowers.
Wow.
And it is something to sink into. It is so lovely. I always dreamed of being Carolyne Roehm. She's one of my great idols. And I just love it. Now, you can't stop with the Guru, I know. I wish you would pay a little attention.
I have been so
to-
rude. I'm going to have to listen to the show in order to hear what you said about this thing, because I just got sucked into the RuPaul book, which is so good. Only thing I want to point out, and I might have to do another piece on this, is see this picture of Ru, and he's in front of the entire cast and crew of RuPaul's Drag
One
Race.
of my favorite dresses, yeah.
You know,
Guess
it's
who's
like,
there in the wait? Guess who's there in the crack?
Could it be
Tom's
you?
in the
It's
crack.
me. You can't see me.
That happened to me in the magazine that we shot down here in the gallery.
I've been cracked. Anyway,
Back to Carolyne Roehm.
Yes.
She says things like, studying at Oxford, I'm happy to report. And then she says, I sadly retreated to Paris. I mean, my God.
It's just absolutely wonderful. She studied under Oscar de la Renta for many years, and the book is just it is like one of those. I hear the rustle of silk taffeta when I think of it's just she's
It's
just
a little Barbara Streisand-y, isn't it?
It's very la di da, and it's a world that nobody else ever has lived in, and nobody else will ever live in. Nobody lives in style like these women, and it's just a fun little world to escape to. Of course, I mean, her head will be one of the first on the pike when the revolution comes.
Well, yeah. Why did she give up interior design?
When the 80s crashed and everything, and
she had to go away and hide.
She had to reinvent herself. Yes, her business fell apart, and so
it's a little like we talked about last
in
week.
fact,
Mario Buata, the Prince of Chintz. I mean,
there was a very famous story about Carolyne where nobody knew where she was, and she had just sort of disappeared from society. And then a woman went into a flower shop in Paris, and she was dusting the floors because she was apprenticing under the florist, and everyone was like, "Hey, Carolyne Roehm is sweeping the floors of a florist shop in Paris." And then she reinvented herself, and now she does these great books about flowers. And,
right.
And she's just we can't even get Tom to pay any attention.
I will
to this.
absolutely listen to this on the radio
I'm
and learn.
sure
about
you'll
everything.
be fascinated.
What's on your on? It's number 3.
Number 3.
And now I just remembered I have some nails I have to pay attention to.
There you go. Unless you want me to go first, and you can.
No, I'm happy to go. Which is the gee, do I feel old today moment is Cher's iconic "Believe." The song "Believe."
Do you believe?
Is 20 years old. We are celebrating this week its 20th anniversary.
And what is significant about this song?
So many things. First of all, guess how old Cher was when she recorded the song?
53.
60.
52.
Oh my God!
We were all like, "Oh my God, Cher has such oldness." She was 52. She's younger than I am now. And it's known because, well, there's a lot of things. First of all, she rewrote some of the lyrics. She does not have a writing credit. But she said, and I'm doing some of my story in the voice of Cher, was, "I was singing the song in the bathtub, and it seemed to me the second verse was too whiny. It kind of pissed me off, so I changed it. I toughened it up a bit. I wrote the lyrics. It takes time to move on. It takes time. It takes love to be strong. I've had time to think it through, and maybe I'm too good for you." God, I do a good Cher.
The thing is,
I'm
she
gifted.
can sing perfectly well, but what was with the vocodery thing?
That was the first song I ever remember having like the robot voice.
It's not, and vocoder versus
Auto-tune.
Auto-tune. Let me explain that. Well, it's funny you should say, because Cher said, "We were tackling Believe for the gazillionth time, and I said, I'm so tired of doing this. Let's put on this CD and listen to some music and get away from this." Well, the CD was from somebody named Rochford, who was using a vocoder to manipulate his voice. So like, And other people, to Jane's point last week, Wendy Carlos, Robert Moog, Phil Collins, had done things. People over time have been doing stuff. So the producer, whose name I forget,
it was amazing because the producer was like a very unknown young British guy.
and he said,
got
okay.
Cher, everyone thought Cher was washed up, and he got Cher in the studio.
And he wanted to use auto-tune. And auto-tune was there just to the idea.
It was like touching up. It
Yes.
was like
Photoshop.
Photoshop. Thank you.
And it was invented by a man named Dr. Andy Hildebrand, who was a professional mathematician and a flute player. And his whole reason for doing it was musicians' first take is usually the best, but sometimes they'd be a little off tune, so you could use the first one. So, but Cher said, "Let's use his vocoder," like everyone else did. So he pretended, which I thought for years they used a vocoder because he didn't really want to give away the secret, which is they just manipulated her voice so much it got that robotic sound. And the first time Cher heard it, she goes, they were so excited. She felt like it was a Rocky film. They were like high-fiving each other. The record label was, "I don't know. I don't think that's a good thing."
Right,
And
I
Cher
mean-
said, "Fuck you. It's going out like this." And it was number one in like 23
Forever.
countries.
Yes.
It's
Because Cher was not at a peak moment of hotness.
No.
People thought she was just dumb.
For sure.
And it was 98 when they started it. It was released, and they were responding to the fact that Madonna had the year before
I don't think
had a
she-
huge dance hit
Yeah.
with Ray of Light. So they're like, let's recreate the Ray of Light magic for Cher.
I don't know if she even had a record contract. I think it was out on an independent label originally.
You may be right.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I was going to pick up on this because someone said it was the first commercial hit with a vocoder, but actually, there's a long history.
It wasn't a vocoder, it was auto-tune.
We should do a vocoder, hits of vocoder special, because as a kid, I remember Peter Frampton, Show Me the Way.
Right.
Which apparently is not a vocoder either. It's a golden throat.
Right. There was lots of things people did to manipulate voices, but no one really went all full 100% robot with it.
Right.
Robotic.
Right. Well, African Bambaataa in Planet Rock and Laurie Anderson, Oh Superman. Remember?
I do. We're good.
Yes, we're in tune.
I just want to apologize because I just found out that vocoder was not the device, and yet when we wrote Cher, the unauthorized musical, instead of singing Believe, we did a song called Vocoder, and they were actually something like this. Vocoder, something I can believe in.
Well,
and I know the gays will buy this, and I know Britney will try this, because everyone,
James, there's a
including
Yeti. James, behind you.
I know the one you're talking about.
Wow.
Just supplements today.
Yeah, so many people have used she introduced it, Cher, but Kanye's used it, T-Pain has used it, and even Britney Spears.
All right. Well.
That's what I was trying to do.
What a brilliant
Jesus,
segue.
you have to try so hard around here to do a segue.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Britney's big announcement. You know I'm a huge fan of Britney. You know Britney has been gone from our lives for too long, but she is coming back. She is coming back.
She didn't go away.
Actually directed a film about her going to Las Vegas.
Yes, her history-making journey to Vegas.
I Am Britney Jean, the documentary.
A residency that saved Vegas.
You spent time with Britney, up close and
much,
personal.
Much time. And her residency was a huge success, and it ended after 4 years. Good news, people. She is back with a new residency, and she just announced.
But come on, wait a minute. Honestly, she's only took a 2-month rest.
Well, what she did.
She ended in 2017, actually.
No.
Yeah, I think
Wake up, James.
because
It's
I was there.
2018.
I was at the last performance, New Year's Eve, 2017, and then she took it on the road. She went and toured the world.
Right?
Anywho, new residency, February the 13th at the Park Theater at the Park MGM. But here's what I want to tell you.
You can't tell me that this is.
And you know what it's called? Domination. But here's what I want to tell you about, James, because I think you might enjoy this. Maybe not, given your current mood, but you might enjoy this. So it's outside the park, and there are hundreds of people in Vegas, and there is a sort of pyramid-type contraption, and they're playing actually the most amazing mix of her songs.
This is the most recent announcement.
Yes, this was the announcement just last week. I was watching it live on the YouTube, and they used the hotel to project a fantastic video montage. So you got the music, you got the montage, you got the crowds. Britney finally appears. I mean, it must have been like half an hour maybe before she appeared. She appears. I guess she'd been hiding under the stage, you know, that old theatrical trick. Mm-hmm. And she pops. And she waves. She descends the steps.
She
signs a few autographs. She walks the red carpet. And gets into a car and drives away.
So
and that's it.
It is the most amount of build-up for actually doing no work at all.
An announcement.
Which is Britney in a nutshell.
With no announcement. No words. I thought it was kind of...
And she doesn't sing in her show.
So at first, I thought, you know, even postmodern me, maybe this is a bit too far to have an announcement where you don't actually announce anything. And then I thought, you know, I slept on it. I thought,
no.
It's perfect for Vegas.
For the love
it's
of
Vegas.
It's like Trump supporters, like Britney supporters. No matter what she does, they will absolutely go bananas. She doesn't do anything, and you're saying that it's brilliant.
Well, I
love it.
But it is like talking to a Trump supporter.
I'm
Like,
saying it.
how can
I'm
you-
going to say
how
it
can
3
you see her
times.
not do anything and walk away and say it was the most brilliant PR stunt of all time? It wasn't a PR stunt. She didn't do anything.
James was gone and he's back, ladies and gentlemen. We love you, James.
I'm glad you took a little
Yay.
rest just then. You've regenerated your batteries.
Did she look good?
She looked great.
some time.
But it was
Some time in that.
porn.
It was-
It is just.
It was
It
interesting.
is maddening what this world we live in, where like you don't do anything and you're given billions of dollars for it. She probably got $1 billion.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you know how much she's being paid per show?
Oh, I don't want to know.
I think it's $500,000 per show.
Yep.
And
To not do anything.
Well,
to not sing.
you have to arrive. You have to come up through the pyramid. You have to descend the steps. You have to walk the red
But
carpet.
her
you have
show,
to
she doesn't do anything.
She dances. She dances.
But no, she doesn't. It's that Mae West thing where there's 20 people spinning around her and she moves from left to
That
right.
is
There's a talent in that,
showbiz.
I suppose.
Okay, well,
I'm not
James
gonna
won't be
break it
going, I
Well,
guess.
you know, I said to Edward, as you know, is the biggest.
Edward is the biggest one of all.
And he said I said, do you think that was a bit much? Like meaning a little bit.
So wait a
little
minute. You
to-
went for a moment. You had a moment of
There was
clarity,
a
and then
moment.
you allowed Edward to
I-
pull you back to the dark
I had a
side?
moment, and Edward replied to me. He says, maybe, but bet you'll be there opening night. The next day, Billy, my husband, the ticket whisperer, got the tickets. So I'll be there opening night, and we'll report back some more.
I wonder if there's a new album coming.
This is there is no sense in the world. There is no-
Can I just say though, James,
Would
I
you-
am a
did
little.
you say something that makes sense?
I am concerned because the theater is so huge, and actually, I've seen several shows.
No,
at this
but
theater.
like Trump, there
I've
are enough people
seen
to
Ricky Martin.
It's a ring.
I've
it's,
seen
it's,
Cher, and it's a very hard theater.
It's
to
P.T.
connect
Barnum, there's
with the
enough
audience.
suckers born
and
every
I
minute.
fear she might have bitten off more than she can chew.
There's enough suckers born every minute that will buy into this
We have
nonsense.
to take a quick break. And when we go back, the Resistor of the week and the thing that made us go, wow, the most, or the number one most, or, yeah. Listen to Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
All right, and we're back. You're listening to the Wow Report with James St. James in rare form, Tom Campbell, and me, Fenton Bailey. I'm frankly scared. I
This
don't want
might
to
be my last pot. You might never see me again. I might storm
No,
off.
this is going to be a filibuster. I don't want the show to end because I'm terrified that when I end, you're going to like
I think James has to leave first. That's just safer for everybody.
security. Okay, we've been counting down the top 10 things that make us go, wow. We have reached number 1.
Number 1.
I have a confession. I was at home in the kitchen and I found this bottle and it looked like gummies, and I looked on the label, it was CBD gummies, and I thought, I haven't tried these sorts of gummies before. I thought they were just gummies, so I ate 2 of them.
What is a CBD gummy? I don't
Wait,
know.
and do you just eat things that have labels that you don't know what it is?
I love gummies.
I'm assuming it was on the top shelf
I
as
have a
well. Keep
sweet
going.
tooth. Yes, it was out of child's reach. But there was little sugar granules in the thing. I thought, oh, it's gummies and sugar.
What
yeah.
is CBD?
Are you sure they weren't meth granules?
CBD is unlike THC, and THC is the psychoactive component of cannabis.
So these are pot
Gummies.
gummy bears.
Yes, they're pot
Okay.
gummies, yes. But they don't make
But
you,
yeah.
this is the weird thing, they don't get you high. CBD is the sort of, is the part of the pot that doesn't get you high. I thought you guys could help me understand. I don't understand the point of CBD gummies, having eaten them.
I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I did pot in high school, so my is going to be limited. Did you get munchies?
I got a dry mouth.
Dry
and drank
mouth?
about a gallon of water.
Did you get paranoid?
No.
No, but I do know that my
just
mother, who
felt
has
vaguely
terrible
fuzzy.
arthritis, gets the pot brownies and the pot and things like that, but they don't have the THC in
The
it. So she-
CBD.
yeah, the CBD. So she doesn't get high, but it has medicinal qualities that help with muscle relaxing and help with
The
pain,
way I eat
pain
pizza.
management.
But what
Medicinally.
What is the sort of so?
It's supposed to. It's the new Hill All everything, like the new
I just
ginseng or
felt
the
vaguely
new.
tired and disappointed. I was expecting something.
What time of day
Well,
did you find
I mean,
these?
we can get you high if you want to get high, Fenton.
I know. I like the idea of consuming something that doesn't get you high, but it should have some sort of uplifting benefit. It
But
should
if
get
you,
you
had-
slightly.
if you had pain, it would benefit you.
I see.
I would like if it erased fine lines
Well,
around my eyes.
an article I just read about this said
What?
that this girl was given this esthetician has a shop that she uses CBD oil in the masks and stuff.
Well, I do know that. There is.
Goop
like-
has written about this.
I feel like it's the new acai.
Right? They
It's
do.
like, just put it in everything.
They have it, they
Pomegranate.
have juices for it. Like
What time of day, if you don't mind me
I
asking?
was after supper.
It was after supper, so you had a full stomach. You took one, then how many more?
I took 2 total. There were 2 in the
Were you
jar.
being monitored? Were you alone?
No,
what
I
was
just
going
did-
on?
I just,
Crazy time.
just to eat these.
And what time did you go to sleep?
About 2 hours later, I just felt.
Did you put on some bright colored clothes or a headband or
nothing,
feathers or
no.
anything? Were you just ready to
But
like?
I'm intrigued, and because pot is legal here, and I believe now
Absolutely.
you can just. I mean, I'm revealing something about myself, but I guess you can just walk into a store and buy this stuff, right?
Yeah, and why not if you
And
want
I
to?
think there's one. They're opening one next door here at the
Oh,
office,
God.
so I can just go in and
Oh dear, I think you might have lost half your staff.
buy some edibles. All right.
Blake's doing this. I don't know if he's wrapping up or if he's making an order. Like, let's get around. Let's get around to CBD Gummi Bears. Sure, everybody.
I think it's. Have you seen Goosebumps 2?
No.
Have you seen the trailer?
No.
It's kind of cute because it's a Jack Black horror film, kind of for kids. It's kind of
R.L.
cool.
Stein.
Yeah.
But the gummy bears become possessed and demonic and come to
That's
life.
funny.
Yeah,
CBD.
yeah. Okay, Resistor of the week.
I'm going to give it to all the performers, I don't remember all of them, who have turned down performing at or around the Super Bowl.
Cardi B, Rihanna, Amy Schumer,
Pink.
Pink.
Amy Schumer turned down any kind of ads that went into the Super Bowl. The other artists turned down being part of the halftime show. And Cardi B most recently, and because Maroon 5, she has a single with Maroon 5 right now,
Yeah.
and Maroon 5 has said, yes, they are performing, and Cardi B would have been out in the middle of it.
Haven't Maroon 5 done it before?
No, but so Cardi B and Maroon 5 is the Edward and Wallace Simpson of the modern era.
Well, and Amy Schumer called for them said that they should,
And by the way, Amy Schumer, congratulations. She's having a baby.
Yeah.
She says she's going to be competing with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. She's going to just be like head to head with them, trying to grab the attention. Which is funny. I love her.
Well, oh God, I'm choking. That's all we have time for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Tom.
Long-term effects of CBD gummy bears choking. Undescribable choking. Thank you, Fenton.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, James.
Thank you, darling. Always fun.
Do you feel better?
I've got
You've got a lot out.
of my-
You're
yeah.
going to sleep like a baby tonight.
Woo. Actually, no. I'm here until midnight tonight because
What are you
we're
doing?
doing we started transformation at 7:30.
What are you going to be?
Creme Fatale is coming in, and we're doing a Halloween episode, and it's going to be really fun.
Did you tape your reality show yet for Netflix?
No, that fell.
We haven't
through.
really announced. Oh.
Oh.
They couldn't afford me.
And
Thank you,
he's cheap.
Blake.
It's true.
Thanks for tuning into the Wow Report, Radio Andy, SiriusXM. Hey, if you haven't seen Dancing Queen on Netflix, what are you doing with your life? It's streaming now.
You need to watch it. And you need to tell 2 friends to watch it.
Yeah. You can listen anytime on the Sirius Radio app or watch anytime on the Wow Report. Same time, same place next week, guys.
Yep.
Yes. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go.
Wow.
For the love of corn.